So the esports industry is growing at a rapid rate of around 41.3% annually, with Goldman Sachs predicting recently that in 2022, it will have a monthly audience of 385 million people, which would be greater than the NFL. Esports is something that is happening now and should no longer be ignored. Welcome back to Study Wealth, the place where we're documenting our journey to success. In today's video, I'm lucky enough to be joined by the self-proclaimed bad FIFA player, streamer and esports caster, Brandon Smith. Brandon, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate you being on the video.
Pleasure to be here as well, Mitch. As soon as you asked me, I was keen to hop on board, mate.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So before I sort of get into talking about esports more generally and what you're actually out there doing, I'd just like to get to know the sort of person behind the business. So slightly different in today's case, you know, you are kind of the business yourself, being that sort of self-proclaimed bad FIFA player and caster and streamer. So can we just have a little sort of introduction to yourself and how you found the esports world?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, said a little bit about myself. I'm 23 years of age, which is, you know, as you'd think, perfect for the world of esports and a gamer, so to speak. I live on the south of England, so I'm not far from Brighton. I've got a journalism degree that I picked up in Manchester a few years back now. And for me, it was always a case I've wanted to get into broadcasting. I've always wanted to get into broadcasting, so to speak. I think when the dream was off of being a footballer, it was kind of, for me, how am I going to stay in this sport, and so to speak. And it was let's go and try and be a commentator and then work in the world of football. But alongside that, and I'm sure many people as well at home have played FIFA. I'm a FIFA man myself. I love FIFA. I love football, and I kind of got the opportunity to get involved in esports, so to speak. It was when I was at university. I was commentating in my dorm room at the time, a very small dorm room. I was commentating on a weekly FIFA tournament, which happened on Twitch. If you don't know what Twitch is, it's like the Sky Sports of esports. It's like where everything happens. Without Twitch, you know, esports wouldn't be as thing as it is. It's like TV for esports, really. Twitch TV, it's called. It's where people can stream. I can commentate on events, and it will be broadcasted there. And as I said, I worked on this league for 14 weeks in a row. I was not getting paid much to do it, but it was all an experience there. It was all fun. And it was a 14-week league that had the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers involved, Shamrock Rovers, Hibernian, all different football clubs from United Kingdom and Ireland. And it was, just an opportunity there to commentate, to really get involved in esports. And that was kind of my first taste, so to speak, in the world of esports. In my first year of 3 of university. So as soon as I went to university, it was, let's get my head down, let's try and make something happen. But I didn't expect at the time to fall into this esports opportunity, if that makes sense.
That's a really good explanation. I mean, it's amazing how people find things in the end. It just, no matter what school tells you, what do you want to be, it almost inevitably feels like it finds you, doesn't it? I mean, I couldn't agree more with wealth management. It's not something when I was growing up I wanted to be. I also play FIFA. I also I'm interested in the esports world, and we'll get to that later, but I don't have, when I think about it now, how did this sort of love for talking about and educating on money, how did I actually find it? You just don't, do you really? And I suppose that's what's happened in your esports case there. Brandon, I can see you're recently achieved a Guinness World Record. So I just wanted to say congratulations on that. That's really oh, look, he's got the certificate as well. That's amazing. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And also, I thought it led on to a question next, which was quite nice, in terms of how do you define success? I mean, you've got success in your hands right there. You're holding a framed Guinness World Record. But tell us a bit more about that in particular, and then how you define success.
Yeah, so just to show you again, sorry, I'm not just going to keep showing this off. This is a Guinness World Record that I achieved actually March this year, so 16th to 17th of March in this very space. And what a lot of people are doing and what a lot of charities are now looking at is 24-hour streams, because you'll be surprised in the amount of fundraising that you can do within the world of gaming. So quite a popular thing to do is to do a 24-hour stream, stay up for 24 hours, play video games for 24 hours. And as much people going, is it good for your health, so to speak? it's about putting yourself out of your comfort zone and trying to raise some money for a charity. And what I did was I raised money for cancer research, and I raised money for Young Minds, which is a mental health charity for young people, two fantastic charities. And what I did was I basically challenged myself to break a world record at the same time. So to win so many games of FIFA, if you're a FIFA player, there's a game mode called Foot Draft. I had to try and win as many Foot Draft matches in 24 hours. So it's about a 6-month project, in all honesty, in terms of I went on to the magical world of LinkedIn and found someone from Guinness World Record, said, can I break this world record? It was a new world record, but they turned around and said to me, if you want to achieve this world record, you need to win 50 games of Foot Draft. So, I mean, that was always going to be achievable in terms of like, if I could just get into a rhythm of playing games and, not lose against the computer, so to speak, which was all right, even if I am that bad. I got 63 wins in the end, so it was deemed like a legitimate world record, and I raised just over £1,500 as well in a 24-hour stream. So it was really, really amazing to do, and I think it was just something I wanted to do. I just thought to myself, it was just before we went into lockdown, and I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to keep me ticking? As I said, I'm a commentator, so my income depends on me going to events, traveling around the world, commentating at events. And I was like, this is an opportunity to like kind of build my brand a bit more and have a bit of fun and do something good and do something that I'll always remember as well. So I was like, I want to break a world record. I was like, I don't know what it was going to be at the time, but I was like, I'm going to break a world record. I'm going to break a world record. And it's one of those things, you just got to go out and do it, haven't you? And lucky enough, it paid off, and I'm with this absolute beauty.
I'm very impressed, man. And well, it's amazing work as well, doing it for charity, and just congratulations on it. So I suppose that leads on to, what do you define as success? Is it, a lot of people have the debate, my true wealth meaning on my channel is an abundance of possessions, but also experiences, family, relationships, and going out, like, you're doing casting, you're traveling a lot, you're getting to experience a lot of different cultures. What do you define as success? When you look at it, where you are now to where you've got to from where you were, but also where you want to go in the future, what is it defined by for you? Is it happiness? Is it something you want?
It's tough. It's a great question. I think for me, I'm always quite critical of myself in terms of, I'm always, what's next? I think one of my bad things that maybe in 20 years time I'll look back on is, why didn't I enjoy that moment enough? Why didn't I enjoy the moment compared to thinking what's next? I'm very much a man of, I like to work, but I like to be proactive. Like if I'm not working, I'm finding what's next. I'm on to something next. I'm always trying to just keep myself busy, so to speak, because for me, I've just got to keep moving. I've got to keep moving. But success, I mean, it's tough because in the esports world, so to speak, and in the kind of content creator world, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Twitch or YouTube, it's a numbers game at times, and you fall into the numbers. It's like, am I growing this week? Am I not growing this week? I've had a good stream there. I've gained 50 followers there. I've gained 100 followers there. I've hit a landmark on Instagram that I wanted to hit. I've hit some followers. So I feel like sometimes you get so trapped up, and it's probably one of my biggest downfalls, that you lose out on what's success. And then the occasional time you might come back, take a step back a minute and be like, wow, I've commentated on Sky Sports and ESPN, and 3 weeks ago I was commentating with Ian Wright on a broadcast of EA Sports in front of like 70,000 people just online, plus broadcasted all around the world. And last week I'm commentating on the Premier League with James Maddison and Premier League footballers all involved. As a Brighton fan, I'm getting to commentate with Aaron Connolly, a Brighton footballer, and speak to these guys from the comforts of my home and their home. So it's tough, I think it's really, really tough for me to kind of put my foot on what I think is success at times, which sounds, bad in some ways,
But I suppose it's a good answer, and it's an interesting answer because it's insightful to the audience that will be watching this, that are probably all finding my channel because they want to either get their money in order, or they want to listen to someone like you telling your stories because they want to achieve something like you've set out and that you're achieving. But it just shows that even for the people that are out there doing something different, making a change, really actually what some people would define being successful, you don't even have a definition for it yourself. You're just out there making progress. There isn't necessarily an end goal. Your foot is on the accelerator, and you're just making that 1% growth a day for a whole year, and next thing you know, you've achieved exponential amounts. So I really appreciate that response. There's no right or wrong answer in this sort of stuff. I just think for the purpose of people who aren't necessarily familiar with the esports industry, but also what you do in particular, and like I touched on it earlier, you know, you are your own brand in a way because you are a sort of caster as such. Could you just give us a little bit more, and I know you've touched on it as well, but just what does it actually mean to be a caster, and how does that business model work for you?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'll be honest, I don't know why the word caster came about in esports, because
right?
essentially it's just a commentator. But when you go to Holland, you get called a shoutcaster. When you go to America, you might be called a caster, and you know, and here you get called a commentator. It's one of those really weird things. And for the first year or two, I was like, it's just a commentator, all right? It's just a commentator. But of course, I don't care. But basically, yeah, a commentator is someone that will work on a tournament, so to speak. So picture, you know, there's 100, well, not 100, so there's 64 players at a FIFA tournament that lasts over 3 days long. Myself and my good friend Richard, who I met at university, we kind of work in like a commentary duo. We call ourselves a little bit like the Ant and Deck, so to speak. Like, ever since we've got involved, we've never done an event not together, which has been really big for the brand, so to speak, as well, that we've always come as a duo. And obviously he's got his personality, I've got my personality. I'm the more serious one, he has a bit more fun, and it works. It works kind of, it's like sweet and sour. It really does work together. But yeah, so as I said, I'm a commentator, so I'll commentate over the action for the 3 days. That's given my insight, my opinions, my live commentary when the goal goes in. And that will happen over a 3-day period, which will be live streamed on Twitch. You know, a TV channel might take the feed as well, whether it's ESPN or Sky Sports, and depending on where the tournament is and where, you know, what kind of tournament it is, whether it's the E-Premier League or the Virtual Bundesliga or an EA Sports run tournament. And those tournaments will normally give out, you know, $50,000 to the winner, but the price over the whole weekend could be $200,000. And there's so many tournaments throughout the season that lead up to the big one, which is normally in August. Of course, right now we don't know if there's going to be a grand final, and that's normally at the O2 Arena in past years. But that's going to be the big wow event of the year where people come out and watch. It's on Sky Sports the whole weekend. It's broadcasted in multiple different languages. It's in China, it's in Arabic, it's in Spain, it's in Portugal, it's just all over the world. France, Germany, England. It's just one of those, and it hits millions upon millions of viewers. And the person that wins that becomes the world champion, and they normally win about $250,000 that year. So it's a decent bit of money. Last time out, it was Mo Alba that won it, a German FIFA pro. But that's kind of my story, so to speak. So I've got like a season, just like the Premier League has, or just like any other football league has. And my season starts when FIFA comes out in September. It's up to August, so it's kind of on and off throughout the whole period.
I think that, yeah, that's really useful to know, and it gives the audience insight into, you know, what you're actually up to as a commentator, not a caster. But I can see as well that, you know, you've built this sort of, because you are, in a sense, I know you do EA Sports tournaments and you get drafted in for competitions with your deck. I don't know whether you're Ant or Deck, but let's go with you. You draft in Deck. But what I find interesting is in doing that, you're almost like any freelancer out there, you're just doing it in a new industry. So for people who are looking to build their own brands, I know you've just achieved 50,000 followers on Instagram, for example. Your Gold 2 gang, which some people won't necessarily understand, has achieved sort of 1,500 followers already. You're hitting really impressive numbers on these social channels. So I thought it would be good to ask you, you know, how have you built your brand and built that following of people interested in following where you come in tournaments? You know, you've got 1,700 people, I think it's at the moment, following where you come on your FUT Champions on the weekend. You know, you've built this incredible following. How have you done it? What insights can you give us there?
I mean, it's one of those, like, it still doesn't feel like I have 50,000 followers in some ways. It feels like there's so much more to achieve. Of course, I'm grateful for how I've moved this channel. I think, you know, the odd giveaway always helps. You know, there's no lie about that. There's people out there that do many giveaways. But I think I started Instagram in August 2017. I think it was off the back of my first ever E-World Cup final. And obviously it was a case of just sharing my journey, so to speak. That's traveling around the world in tournaments, that's playing FIFA. But in the last, I'd say 12 months or so, I really tried to pick up my game on Instagram in terms of growing my following, try and do more to interact. And I'd say what has helped is TikTok. In all honesty, I think TikTok's an absolute minefield. I've been on there since October, and I've just hit 40,000 followers on there recently, which is very good compared to some people. It's nothing, but like it's still very, very good. And the biggest thing that I found from TikTok is that TikTok allows you to link up your Instagram and your YouTube, so you can do a lot of like snowball like effect, so to speak. You can get a lot of people over to your Instagram platforms as well, and then they become part of your like journey, so to speak. They start understanding you as a brand. But the whole Goal 2 gang thing is just like, it's one of those things, like everyone needs a selling point. Everyone needs something as a brand, like whether it's a funny footballer, a funny saying. For me, like, as I said, I'm an average FIFA player. I'm not a fantastic FIFA player. And there's a game mode on FIFA where you play every weekend. You can get 30 wins maximum. The pros get 30 wins. I've never got 20 wins. I've always got 19 in the last 3 years or so. And that's not me. As much as people think it's a show now I'm putting on for these people, I genuinely have never hit 20 wins. So I made this whole thing called the Gold 2 gang. Gold 1's 20 wins. Gold 2 is anything up to 19 wins. And that's just hilarious in itself, that, you know, it's nearly growing to 2,000 followers in like 2 weeks, which is amazing. But people need something to hang on to. You know, if you're a brand, so to speak, I've always said this, I don't want to be just known as the commentator. I want to have a bit more personality of me out there. And this whole COVID situation has allowed me to express that in terms of streaming on Twitch more, building up my personal following, building up my personal brand, doing more TikToks, doing more Instagram, doing more tweets, and just trying to grow my social following, because then when play does resume normally, I'm not going to have the time and the energy to put into making these TikToks and streaming for hours on end on these platforms. So for me, it's, as I said, it's, you know, you say about the 1% a day thing. That's really what my mindset is like. Let's go to work here today. Let's try and grow this. Let's try and grow that. Let's try and improve my following here. Which, you know, either way, it can sound bad in a way that I'm just chasing that following, so to speak. But I know the value in it long term for me. And I think it was one of those, like when I'm in a position that I am with EA Sports, which I'm very fortunate to have, that I'm being seen on these tournaments with thousands upon millions of followers, you have to do something with that exposure. You have to make it into something. I could easily sit back and just have a Twitter account and tweet off it now and then, but I've put myself as one of the guys in FIFA esports, one of these people that tells you about a transfer move. I'll tell you about how the tournaments are going. I'll tell you an update on what's going to happen with the season. Is the season going to be suspended? Is it going to be cancelled? You know, I'm that man as well in some ways. So I've got that kind of need that people need information. They come to me a lot of the time. And the fact that I'm now turning it in a different way as well to show that personality side, I think it's kind of all coming together, which is really nice. But you don't really know what you're doing sometimes. You're just on this road, and there's bumps along the way. There's different avenues to go down, and right now we're down the Goal 2 avenue.
Yeah, good. And that's interesting. I think, you know, again, you're helping with people that are listening to you. I mean, it's interesting. Like you say, you're just trying different things. I definitely did some reading, and I could see that sometimes it is the esport casters, commentators that are the personalities really come through, and that's what helps them grow. They're sometimes more well known than the players, because the players are there to play the game. You're there to be a bit of the personality behind it. So it definitely rings true to what sort of the messages in the industry out there. I was sort of interested in the fact that I saw esports as a sort of phenomenon now. It's a new phenomenon, but it's actually started in like 1970 with the Space War Olympics. And I thought, I did some research, and I saw that you were an associate lecturer at Chichester University. I think that's might still be the case, or going on now. Could you, just for sort of the audience and for me and my benefit, what sort of that degree that they teach there, what does that sort of cover on esports? But also just a bit about the esports industry in general, because it's not a new phenomenon. It's been going around for a long time. It's just sort of achieved exponential growth recently. So just some sort of general stuff on the industry itself.
Yeah, so as you said, you know, if you don't know what esports is, it's competitive gaming. So, you know, when you play a game, a video game, FIFA, Call of Duty, Fortnite, whatever the game is, if it's played competitively for money or trophies online against other people, that is technically esports. It's just competitive gaming. But as you said, you know, it dates back many, many years, and we've had Twitch since then, which has taken it from people just playing online or playing at home to then playing online to broadcasting it in front of millions, and now TV channels and linear TV are picking up. So that goes to TV now. This year, it was meant to be part of the Olympic Games for the first ever time in Tokyo. It's going to be a game called Rocket League, which is football with cars. And then a game called Street Fighter, which is just fighting. Those two games are going to be in the Olympics for the first ever time, which was kind of groundbreaking, so to speak. But yeah, in the last 3 years or so, esports is now an actual bachelor's honours degree. There's a handful of degrees in the UK now. I think there's 3 of them in total. But last October, Chichester launched their one. And of course, their degree in itself is very unique. It teaches you a handful of transferable skills in whether it's the business of esports is where I come in. I teach that. That's my module that I teach. You've got the sports science side of it, of esports. A really interesting study came out of Chichester as well. One of the professors there did it. Apparently, CSGO players, which is a fighting game, have the same stress as professional athletes, professional sporting athletes, which goes to show, like the level of competition here. And I think one thing that it really struggles with at the moment is esports is the stigma that it still does have. In terms of, people just think it's playing games all day. People have thought the university degree is just sitting there playing games all day. But as I said, it's transferable skills. Business of esports, as I mentioned, is the one I talk about. We talk about brands involved and sponsors, actually brands that aren't in the space, that have come into the space to try and get goodness out of it. And on top of that, you've got the brands of the headsets and then, of course, the monitors, the consoles, all of those. On top of that as well, we do single player development. So, we're teaching people how to be leaders in teams, those kind of skills, those transferable skills. And over the 3 years, you learn casting, what I do, or commentating. You learn just like team management. It's basically like, I think the way that a lot of people look at it is it's a business degree inside of esports as well. It teaches you about the esports world, but it's not about becoming a gamer. It really isn't. People think you go and study for 3 years, you come out as a professional gamer for a certain game or so. It's a case of you come out and you're in a position where you've got transferable skills, whether it's going into marketing, social media, business development, whether it's being a player, being a commentator, public speaking. It's all these different skills. There's another guy as well called Ram Singh who looks after the whole program. I'm an associate lecturer, as I said. I do help him alongside, but Rams has been in the industry for 20 plus years. He's been a player. He's been a coach. At a team called Team Dignitas, which were massive back in the day. I think it was sold in the end to the San Francisco, I wouldn't say Jets, but an NFL team it was sold to a long time ago, and they bought the rights to it. And that was a really, really big one back in the day. They did all different games. So he's kind of the man that leads the program, so to speak. I think we're in a position to take on a handful more students next year, touch wood, if everything returns back to normal. I'll be involved again, hopefully, with my business module. And hopefully I can help out with the casting module as well, where I can provide that. But I think the biggest thing that's come out of that is it's not a degree that you can teach out of a book. It's as simple as that. It's not a degree you can teach out of the book. And the fact that Chichester brought in people from the industry, not from the education background, from the industry, because it has to be taught from the industry. And that's exactly what Chichester have done, which is really, really impressive. And I think literally in the last 3 weeks as well, BTECs have been announced now. So people can go to college and study esports as a BTEC. So again, education's moving with esports. The two are going to move together in sync over the next few years. And 5 years from now, I honestly don't know which way it's going to happen. But again, for me, I was like, I want to get involved in education. I want to get involved in it now. And at the age I am, I was like, let's just get involved and offer the experience I can. Chichester's not too far away from me. So as soon as I saw it was announced, I was in there and met up with Michael Holly, who's kind of in charge of the whole CDT department there, which looks after everything in terms of their degrees that they are offering in a brand new building facility. The facilities are fantastic. And just sat down with him, had a chat, and he was like, I want you to be involved. And, we're many months on to that, heading into our second year now, trying to get the students over the line, the first year students, with everything that's going on at the moment, which they've done a fantastic job. But it's new for me. It's a new experience for me. And I've really enjoyed it because, again, it's another opportunity.
It's really good. I mean, we've been talking about it on this channel a little bit with other people coming on. There seems to be a bit of a shift in the educational system to more vocational style courses that are offering practical experience, having industry people coming in and really giving practical advice on how you can succeed in this industry. Seems like a really good way to sort of promote, but also develop that as an educational path, as well as just the sort of what everyone imagines it to be, which is just a gaming path. And it's, if it's going to be this sort of size industry, like I mentioned at the start, where you're getting 385 million people watch a month, it's a business. There are so many different aspects in NFL that aren't just people playing the game. And that's needs to be looked at in the same way as esports, I think. So, and that really highlights it there. I think your point of how it could develop in the future is that it basically becomes a sport. The fact it's going to be in the Olympics, the fact I've got here 6 billion hours in 2018 were dedicated to watching professional gaming, and already has a revenue of $1.1 billion. I mean, this is something, like I said, it's here to stay. What I wanted to just touch on, I know you've got FIFA is what you commentate on. And I said, 3 continents were represented at the E-World Cup last year. It's got a huge global reach. There are still people out there that suggest that the mechanics of the game are a little bit difficult, and that it doesn't necessarily, the system it has in place compared to the Rocket League is sort of like a pay to win scheme, because you have to have foot champions, you have to pay to get your good players in your team. What do you think of those sorts of critics? And do you think that FIFA has the potential to be one of the biggest esports in the future?
I think I always say this about FIFA, and it's the number 1 selling sports game because, football's the biggest sport in the world in terms of what it's played at. Footballers play FIFA, fans of football play FIFA. People that don't actually like football play FIFA as well, believe it or not. It sells so many copies a year. I think where you look at FIFA esports used to be played on head-to-head. If you don't know what head-to-head is, it means you can only play with club teams and international teams. So whether Cristiano Ronaldo played or Messi, those are the teams it'd use. So it'd be Barcelona, Real Madrid. And that for many years was great because that was how FIFA esports was played. But it gets to a stage where it's a little bit boring, so to speak, in my opinion, for a viewer. Ultimate Team came in FIFA 09, and it was around the years of FIFA 17, 2017, where Ultimate Team became the esports, the way to play it. Of course, we know there's microtransactions with FIFA points, and people are opening packs. And on top of that as well, that there is the element of the more packs you buy, you should be getting better players. And there are pro players that do, put money into the game to get the best team possible. But what EA did to flip down the head is they added restrictions in this year for qualifiers. So there was, for example, an 84 overall squad requirement, in which you had to have 75 minimum players on the bench, which are gold items. So that stopped people having a full icon team and putting in so much money into the game. So that was one step they've already made for that whole pay to win aspect of it. I think, of course, there's people out there that get pat luck and they're able to get great teams. There's people out there that do put money into the game and get great teams. There's people that can't put money into the game and they struggle to get a good team. But that's why Foot Champions is great as well, because there are many ways that you can earn rewards in game without spending a penny, other than how much you pay for the game at the beginning of the year. Yes, it takes longer. Yes, it's a grind, but there are ways of working around it. And I know there are case studies out there as well of pro players that haven't put FIFA points into the game, and they have done well and they have made events. So I think to answer that, it was a problem, I definitely think, and it's something that EA are aware of. They want the esport to be fair. They don't want to limit players that could be coming in, that could be the next Tex, could be the next MS Desari. They don't want to limit those guys. And I think they're working on it. But we've only been really technically at the prime in our esport for the last 3 years or so. And I still feel like we've got so much more to give in terms of, you look at all of the activations that are taking place. We had an E-Champions League last year. The winner got to lift the trophy on the Champions League final pitch between Liverpool and Tottenham, which was amazing. Won $100,000. Was actually from America, believe it or not, from New York City. He won that tournament. You've got the E-Premier League, you've got the virtual La Liga. Any football league has an E-League that goes alongside it. This is what is fantastic. These are the kind of activations that really do help push it, because there's young football fans out there that don't want to go and watch Manchester City play. But if there's a FIFA player that plays for Manchester City, they're going to support him and they're going to watch him and they're going to interact with him. And then through that way, they might buy a season ticket at the club. They might go to a game. They might buy a Manchester City shirt. And just to put this into perspective, if you go to these football clubs now, like PSG, you can buy a shirt with the FIFA player's name on the back. Like, that's how big it's getting now. And people are doing that. So in terms of, you saying about how big can FIFA esports get, I think we're in a building stage at the moment. I think we're 3rd or 4th year into this now since EA really pushed Ultimate Team. And I feel like there's still so much more to give, in all honesty.
That's great. Before I do close up, we got the average of 5 challenge, which is obviously I'm trying to get a theme on this channel of trying to put that on. Where can I direct my audience to you? Because obviously you've done me a great favor in coming on and talking today. I want people to go and follow you. You know, you're on an amazing sort of journey on esports. Like you say, the foot's on the accelerator. You're constantly looking to improve. So where can I direct my audience to you, Brandon?
Yeah, so you know, any social media platform. If you fancy some TikToks, be sure to come over there. It's all just @bsmith_esports on Twitter, on Instagram, and yeah, if you're interested in FIFA, you want to. I wouldn't say learn off me because I'm not great at FIFA, but if you want to get involved in the esports industry or ask me any questions, of course, you can send me a message anytime. And yeah, it'd be great to connect with some new people. Hopefully, I can educate along the way.
Thanks, Brandon. I really appreciate it. And everyone, make sure to go follow those channels. Thank you for coming on. And so moving on to sort of the final question of the day, we've called it the average of 5 challenge on here. And it's kind of playing on the thing that you're the average of your 5 closest people. Virtual dinner party, because of unforeseen circumstances we have at the moment. You go to that virtual party, you know, we're in one now. And as we come out of it, you become the average of those 5 people that were necessarily at the virtual dinner party. Who would your 5 be, Brandon?
It's a great shout. I mean, it's one of those that even trying to think about it before I came on today, Mitch, is very difficult. I mean, I just look at key points as well. I think in my life as well. Like, I think I'm someone that's very much keen with fitness, mental well-being. Of course, you know, trying to be successful as well in the broadcasting world. So I'd say someone like Ant Middleton, because he's just an absolute animal.
You've been watching SAS?
I haven't watched too much of it, but I've seen a few of the Tony Bellew clips. So I made sure I watched those before we did the EPL Invitational. And yeah, you know, the insight to some of them is amazing. I mean, a commentator legend, I'd have to say someone like Martin Tyler, get him in there as well. A really special bloke, again, achieved so much in the world of sport and broadcasting. I'm trying to think here, someone that's really good. I think it's Jay Shetty.
Right, okay.
An interesting one. Jay Shetty does a lot of podcasts. He's very much about mind and wellness. He's a little bit on the same lines as, you know, your Gary Vaynerchuk, so to speak, entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
But I know you've had quite a lot of people saying that, so I wanted to go on a little bit of a different curveball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got my wellness. I've got my mindset in there. I've got commentary. I mean, I've got a lot of people have been saying Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm hearing come into this. What about? It's a great question. What about? He's an absolute legend that I loved. I mean, I'll just have to say, I'll mix it up. I'll go on the Messi train, get Messi on the table as well. An absolute legend, an absolute, you know, go. It'd be great. I mean, I don't know what his English is like, but it'd be great to like just, you know, being at the top of your game, dealing with the pressures. And then I'd say the last one would be Castro. I don't know who Castro is. He's got like a huge world record for being the most followed FIFA streamer. Again, another person that's been at the top of his game. He's been a pioneer for, you know, for FIFA and for gaming and streaming. And, you know, like you look at what he's been able to achieve, millions upon millions of followers. So a really interesting virtual dinner date. But again, it's one that I think I've tried to touch upon as many different key parts of my life as possible. And I wonder what kind of guard come out after it, in all honesty.
I quite like the tactic there, though. You've checked what you need in your life and you've got the rounded approach. You're making sure you're ticking the right boxes. It would be an interesting person to come off the back of that.
It would. It really would.
Brandon, just sort of closing up, I honestly really appreciate you coming on today. You've been a great guest on the show. My audience are going to get a massive amount of insight into esports and what it sort of takes to really get into the industry. Just one last final question, just to eke it out of you there, your sort of knowledge of the esports industry. If I've got an audience member listening to this that wants into esports, a sort of enthusiast that really wants to get into the industry, what would you say? I mean, if you had to start again, what would you do now to get into the industry? But also, what is the best tip for getting into it now?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a case of when I did want to become an esports commentator, it was about getting involved, but how? Because back then I thought you know, these are opportunities when it comes to those that were YouTubers or, you know, those that are quite famous in the scene that had millions of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of followers. But in all honesty, it was more for the skill that I, you know, portrayed that I could provide, and that was commentary. So what I'd say is kind of choose your lane, so to speak. Is it a commentator? Is it a professional player? Is it an analyst? Is it a streamer, a YouTuber? Choose your lane, so to speak, and go into it and think, you know, what could I offer that was different? I think what I came into FIFA Esports with was a different style of commentary that was never offered before, you know, a completely different way to not just treat it like normal football, but to treat it like an esports, to talk about the actual in-game players like football, but then everything else around it, the tournaments, what this guy's doing, why is Ronaldo better than maybe Messi in the game of FIFA, why is he faster than him, why can he jump higher than him, why has Messi got a better left foot, so to speak, and all these different intricacies that could separate you from others in the scene, and to provide that really good insight that not everyone could do. So what I'd say is, yeah, choose your lane, think about what you can offer that someone else hasn't already offered, and just go for it. I think you've just got to go for it, haven't you? It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take months, maybe years. But when you do get the opportunity, you've got to take it. And for me, when I got an opportunity to do a big tournament, I 100% took it. And, you know, it came back and really did help me in the end.
And that's great. And like I say, a big part of this channel is that journey to success that we've touched on quite a lot today. I know you don't like to define success, and you're always moving. So I know it's not something you necessarily look towards, but what, you know, on my personal finance side to this channel, I talk about goal setting and the importance of it. And so I like to sort of do like a closing question on what's the future goals for you in terms of where do you see yourself now? I mean, is it possible, do you believe, and is it something you want to do, to pivot into commentating on Sky, real football, and doing esports? Or do you think it's something that is very difficult to balance the two? Is it one or the other? You know, what's your future goals, Brandon? What is it for you? Where do you want to be?
I think it's one of them. And again, like a lot of people naturally presume that, and that's nothing to say to you, Mitch, there as well, but a lot of people think that, is it a move in progress? Is it to go into football? Is it to go and commentate a match today or Premier League matches? And I look at what I've achieved in esports and the opportunities that I've got, as I've named a few of the broadcasters that I've worked with. I've named some of the places I've been to. I've achieved so much more in little time in esports than it would have done in football. You think of the list of football commentators, the number of football commentators that are involved in just football, that sport, and how it's already so saturated, that market, and how, like, you know, it's so difficult to get your first foot in the door. What I've been able to achieve in esports, as I said, I've commentated on Sky Sports, I've done ESPN, I've gone round to different countries, I've worked with major football leagues and major corporations within the world of FIFA and EA Sports. So in terms of that, I think I've always said I'm just enjoying the ride, so to speak. I'm riding the wave. I'm enjoying the ride. But in the future, I mean, I would love to have a dabble. I think, you know, maybe one day I'll set myself a crazy target of trying to get on Match Today just for 1 week to commentate over a game. That would be something that would be really, really cool. But as I say, I am really just enjoying the ride, so to speak. I'm really enjoying it. If you said to me right now, Brandon, you could do this until you retire and commentate on FIFA, I'd snap your hand off and I'd go for any day of the week, because I'm loving what I get to do. You know, it's a job that offers you flexibility in some ways, in terms of that you're not a 9 to 5. You know, sometimes you might be non-stop for a month, and then you might have 4 months off, and then, you know, one time you might have 5 months on, absolutely mental. You never know what's around the corner. It's that element of surprise that really does keep me keen and keeps me hungry in this industry. So to be honest, I don't know what the goal is in the future. It's just a case of really just enjoying the ride and taking every single opportunity that I can.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that basically sums up this interview really well. You're someone who just is enjoying what you're doing. You found just sort of happiness, and you're going out and doing all you can just to keep living it and keep living that dream. Is there anything you want to sort of say? The floor is yours here, whether you've got any sort of last words for the audience, or just, you know, we've covered a lot today. So just thanks for your time.
No, I've really enjoyed it. My motto for my channel is, it's always more than just a game. And I think that's one thing that I really always want to portray, that the stigma of gaming is such a thing that many people look at, when really it's given me the opportunity to travel around the world, do something that I really love and enjoy, whilst combine it with journalism, with a degree that I worked on for 3 years. I'm still being a journalist, although I'm commentating on FIFA. I'm still doing the exact same roles with the exact same skill sets of a Martin Tyler. It's just on the virtual pitch of FIFA. So yeah, I've really enjoyed my time on here, Mitch, and thank you very much for getting me on board.
Thanks, Brandon. And everyone who's listened, thanks today. Make sure to go follow Brandon at his Instagram, Twitter, and of course, TikTok platforms. Again, don't forget, it's a journey to success on Study Wealth. Thanks for listening.